Contrary to popular opinion, video game dogs aren't just there to die at the end. They're on hand to provide whiffs of encouragement from the start and fill idle moments with tricks and cuddles. They are a protagonist's best friend, all the way up to that cheap and inevitable emotional payoff. So which are the doggiest doggos to ever wag their way through a PC game? We've sniffed out only the best from approved breeders. These are the dogs with the brightest eyes, wettest noses and waggiest tails. Just remember, good boys hit the bell to subscribe. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? You are! Yes, you are!
There's been a Dogmeat in nearly every Fallout worth playing, although there might have been some Hollywood casting involved. If it's the same Dogmeat in both Fallout 1 and Fallout 4, he's walked approximately 2,871 miles and lived an additional 126 years. But hey, the ghouls manage it, right? You pick up Dogmeat for two reasons. One, he lets you complete the classic Road Warrior image and finally become Mad Max. And two, because on some level you want to protect him. Perhaps it's because he's named Dogmeat in a world where iguana on a stick is the new doner kebab. Or that a German shepherd in the wasteland somehow feels like the last remaining piece of the world that was. Either way, for many players, Dogmeat is just as integral to Fallout as graphical glitches and the ink spots, even if he has been recast more times than Lassie.
We know that the sins of the owner aren't the sins of the pupper, but Fable 2 never came out on PC, so Peter Molyneux's furry metal detector is disqualified from the fantasy RPG category. Best in Show goes instead to the Mabari Warhound in Dragon Age Origins, or, as he's better known, Barkspawn. This woofer has a habit of covering himself with poisonous monster blood, which is a nightmare when it comes to toweling it off. But he's got pedigree, coming from a line of mastiffs who supposedly served the legendary hero Dane. You can also teach him to do AoE damage within a 7.5 meter radius after a 60-second cooldown, which shits all over play dead any day.
Chop is a Rottweiler who's better behaved than any of the other main characters in GTA 5. And don't you doubt it, he is a main character. He's owned by Lamar, the deuteragonist to Franklin's protagonist. That makes Chop a tritagonist if you want to get technical about it. His place in the script is assured. Chop would never aspire to such highfalutin titles himself, of course. He's a boy of simple tastes, fond of ball games, open-top drives in the Lambo, and long walks in South Los Santos. In fact, he's the only doggo on this list you can actually walk without risk of serious bodily harm. Which brings us to our next pup.
Peter Puppy is the Bruce Banner of the canine world. He's an alien actually, but that doesn't seem to matter too much when Earthworm Jim crash lands on his planet. All Jim needs to do is walk Peter home to his kennel in exchange for passage off-world. Until the walk is interrupted by carnivorous plants and flying saucers, that is. It's then that Peter transforms from a happy-go-lucky pup into a purple mass of muscles and sharp teeth. Watch as he picks up our heroic earthworm in his jaw, like a sausage on an unattended plate. It's a moment familiar to any dog owner who's happened upon a family of picnickers. Suddenly a walk in the park turns into the escort mission from hell. No, I didn't mean you, Peter. Sit nicely now. Down, boy, down! I command you not to maul me!
Whoa, Nelly!
Some of us have wanted a husky ever since we were first floored by one in the caves of Metal Gear Solid 1. In fact, Metal Gear lore has it that Solid Snake owned 50 huskies during his retirement. Mind you, Metal Gear lore also has it that his clone brother lives in the arm of a man named Revolver Ocelot, so it's not so surprising in that context. If you're going to own just one husky, however, make it D-Dog. He's the only hound we've ever met named after a private military company, Diamond Dogs, and by extension the mid-70s works of David Bowie. They say dogs look like their owners, and sure enough, Dee lost the use of his right eye as a puppy. Thankfully, he looks super cute in an eye patch.
In Call of Duty Ghosts, Reilly sniffs out explosives and protects the team. But don't be fooled by his gruff demeanour, he's the most pampered pooch you'll find on this list. First, Infinity Ward performance captured Reilly's movements, working with a lovely real-life German shepherd called Ruger. Then, they collaborated with Nvidia on his beautiful mane, giving Reilly dynamic moving fur and hundreds of thousands of hairs. That translates into a lovely fluffy coat just begging to be ruffled. Not that we'd ever demean a fellow squaddy like that. It's this innovation that turned Ghost into the most beloved COD in a generation. Just don't check Metacritic. Let's pretend for a bit, alright?
There are only 2 types of dog that this comprehensive list of lovely pups hasn't already covered. Number 1, anthropomorphic dogs, and number 2, vigilante private investigators, who are also dogs. Thankfully, Sam & Max's Sam covers both of those bases. He was a 6-foot pooch wearing a suit and a fedora, back when fedoras didn't mark you out as somebody who petitioned against the female Ghostbusters. Laid back but enthusiastic, Sam is an essential calming influence on the hyperkinetic rabbity thing he calls his partner. He also has an encyclopedic knowledge, but isn't above sticking his head out the car window and letting his tongue flap in the breeze. The very definition of a good dog.
Right, that's enough dogging for now. I just said that, didn't I? I'm gonna try and talk this one off. Tell us about your favourite furries in the comments. Oh, I've done it again, haven't I? Subscribe to PCGM for more grim gaming innuendo.